Thank you so much.
But he's going to speak first. So,
Is Brian speaking first? Do you want the mic?
I don't need that mic.
Okay.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Zoom call. Can you hear me? Thumbs up. Thumbs up if you can hear me. Thank you. We're here today with Steve Wozniak, Janet Wozniak, and Joseph Kachet. I'm Brian Danitz, and this is about the complaint that was filed yesterday in Wozniak and 17 victims of the Bitcoin giveaway scam via YouTube. And we'll field your questions after initial remarks. I want to give a few Zoom rules of the road, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Please raise your hand if you have a question, and I will call on you. But also don't forget to put down your hand after you've asked your question, and we'll proceed in that way. And with that, if there are no questions, over to Joe Kachet.
Thank you very much, Brian. Joe Kachet with the law firm of Kachet, Petrie, and McCarthy. Sitting next to my right, I don't know if you can see, is Julia Peng, one of our fabulous lawyers, Brian, one of our fabulous lawyers, and I've known Steve and Janet for many, many years. Let me tell you what basically this lawsuit is all about. It's all about two fabulous people sitting next to me, Steve and Janet, who have stepped up to protect not only their name, their value, their station in life. They've stepped up for people all over the world. Included in this complaint are 17 people from around the world. We've been receiving calls. You're not going to believe this. We received a call 2 days ago from a station in the Antarctic that looked at this. So it goes all over the world, from China to Malaysia to the Far East, all over Europe. And what basically has happened is this. Your YouTube, and I hate to call them out, but this is what's happening, for profit, have allowed what we consider to be criminal acts. These are fraudulent sales of Bitcoins. They are fraudulent, they are criminal, and YouTube has allowed them to go on time and time again. 3 or 4 days ago, you may have seen that Twitter had a similar situation, and within 24 hours, they pulled it down. As a matter of fact, they had interruptions, if you will, even of Barack Obama's account. They pulled it down within 24 hours. In this Bitcoin situation, they're attempting to hide behind the Communications Decency Act. Well, it's absolutely clear that the Communications Decency Act did not give license to internet companies to push criminal acts, and that's what these are. Thankfully, Steve and Janet have stepped up and said enough. I'm going to take them on behalf of all of those people all over the world. And by the way, we named 17 of them in the complaint from all over the world. This has to stop. It's taking advantage of not only our adults, but our children are being sucked in on these sponsorship of criminal ads. The case is not complex. It's going on every day. If you go up on YouTube, if you go up on many, many internet apps, you will see this happening. The time has come when Congress has to act, when law enforcement has to act. It can't just be Steve and Janet Wozniak standing up for the whole world. I'm not talking about citizens in the US. And that's why we named 17 people from around the world to show how widespread this is. What does it involve? It involves millions of dollars in advertising expenses to these companies. The time has come to stop it, and we're here to do exactly that. I'd like to hear from Steve, your position on this.
certainly. This has been going on for over 2 months. And we first were notified of it. Janet and I do everything as one. And so she does some of the work and contacting YouTube or attempting to, and gets the email. But the first thing that started was we got contacted through our website by somebody who said that it had been in YouTube's featured videos that morning. Huh? They're YouTube publishing, that's a featured one. And since then, people started contacting us saying, I sent you some Bitcoin. Aren't you going to send me twice as many back? You know, and any human in the world would know this is a crime. Fraud is lying for money, basically. That's how I simplify it. Lying for money. This is obviously a lie. We're not going to send you 2 Bitcoin. I'm not a party to this. And it's obviously for money. So it's a crime. And we started getting into it, you know, many nights till 3 in the morning. And I did some of the posting, Janet would do others, and we would type in details of why we were clean. We had to find out, how do you report a video that's wrong? And they give you a pop-up menu with certain categories. It doesn't include, oh, we have a crime that a human needs to see. And we must have done, you know, 100 of those. We took screenshots of at least 10% of them, but huge numbers of these.
And examples are behind you.
And this morning, there were some new posts even of this thing. It's still going on. And we'll report it for fraud or something. And after a while, YouTube will take it down. And I'm sure their computer took it down and sent a letter to the other party saying, oh, if you want to challenge it, you can. The funny thing is, like 2 days ago, we took 3 of them down, or we reported 3 of them. I assume they went down. And the next morning, there were 4 new ones. So it's like whack-a-mole. And this has been more than 2 months. We're going through this. And I just, you know what? One of the things is there's a lot of bad that came about from this big technology stuff and the gig economies, which is you can never reach a human who would easily understand the situation and get it rectified by some method and talk to you and figure out a method to solve something like this. The fact is, a crime's being done. We're not going to send you 2 for 1. Anybody would look at that and say it's a crime. Ed McMahon would say it's a crime. It just doesn't work that way. I'd love to work Stevie Wonder into this one, or Helen Keller. But so we keep reporting supposedly to YouTube, probably just to a computer. We never got to a human being. And maybe I could pull some strings, but I don't believe in pulling strings in everything in my life. I want to do things the way the normal people and normal Joes do. How can it keep going for so long and we can never, ever get rid of such an obvious criminal thing? This is not an accusation slandering me. It is not accusing me of raping somebody. It's not some of these First Amendment things that have come by in the past, you know, over outfits like YouTube that are reposting it. Not only that, this one was even a fraud on YouTube. It portrays itself to be a video, and really all it is a picture where you can click and send in, you know, a Bitcoin and get 2 back supposedly from me, from Elon Musk, from some others. Let's stop this sort of thing. Let's stop it.
So let me interrupt 1 second and say this. This is not just about Bitcoin ads. This is about fraudulent ads all over the internet that are coming down, because our Department of Justice, you see, is not stepping up. We do not have people that are stepping up and taking on these apps, these companies, these high-tech internet companies that are producing for millions of dollars in ad revenues. They're producing anything they want to put up there. In the back here, if you can see it, here's 2 examples of Steve being used, but you know, they're using Bill Gates, they're using Elon Musk, they're using all types of people to show that these frauds are legitimate. They are not legitimate. They are criminal acts, and you shouldn't be able to profit by charging revenues to put them up. As Steve just said, he's been after him for months to take him down. They might take him down for what, 24 hours, and then they're back up. So it's not just Bitcoins that Steve and Janet are standing up for. It is all these ads that are bordering on criminal activity to sell you anything they want to sell you, saying that Steve Wozniak and Janet think it's a very good deal, go get it. And that's the fraud that's being used today. And the tragedy is that back in Washington, our Department of Justice are, quote, investigating, and they do nothing further. I don't know the answer for that, but at some point, judges has to stand up and say the so-called Communication Decency Act doesn't give you the right to do this. And that's what they're hiding before, because we know they lobbied You see, to get that act passed, they spent a lot of money on lobbyists to get an immunity act so they couldn't be sued or taken advantage of, so they could put money in their pocket. Congress has to stand up and amend that act. The Department of Justice has to stand up and say, wait a minute, this is a criminal act, folks. You got to stop it. You got to take it down. This case, although it's a civil case, this case is a criminal case on behalf of all of the world. And that's why we named 17 people in here, many from Europe, as I said, many from Asia, that are being taken advantage of, unfortunately. The time has come when Congress has to stand up. It's not just the courts. Stand up and stop this fraud being played on the American public, the world public, using people like Steve and Janet on a daily basis to take advantage of them. These are two of the most wonderful people in the world. I'd like to see Bill Gates. I'd like to see Elon Musk, who's been used, stand up and take this on as well. All the other people that have been used, stand up, let Washington know that you're tired of having your face up on apps and abused.
Thanks, Joe. But, you know, this is a crime that we reported dozens or hundreds of times to YouTube in words, but no human. You can't reach a human. It's one of the big problems with today's modern tech industry. So they're so big, they don't have to listen.
This is Brian Danitz, one of the lawyers representing Steve and the 17 fraud victims in this matter. As Joe pointed out, the scope of this Bitcoin giveaway scam is vast. Since filing the complaint, we have gotten daily calls from all over the world of people wanting to join this action. And we may find ourselves filing a second complaint to accommodate them. Now, you may say, well, how could anyone fall for this, right? Isn't it obvious, right? Well, how could anybody fall for this scam? 2 for 1 Bitcoin, too good to be true. And I'll tell you why, because each of these victims tell us their story. And the story is YouTube featured these scams on their site. YouTube pushed these fraudulent Bitcoin giveaway scams. They used it on verified YouTube channels. They had targeted ads that targeted the most vulnerable people who were interested in Bitcoin, and they promoted the ads. So it's because of YouTube, because of YouTube's affirmative acts, that these people believe this was a live event that was being hosted by Steve Wozniak or by Elon Musk, and that's what induced them to give their Bitcoin over to these fraudsters. This is much more than what Section 230C was meant to protect. Section 230C is meant to protect a post, not meant to protect pushing advertising to customers, knowing that there are fraudulent Bitcoin giveaway scams going on for months, all of which are identical, right? Identical, easily identified, right? And doing nothing about it. This could have been prevented, and it should be prevented, and we believe the court will prevent this in the future.
It's not just Bitcoin. Let me introduce Julia Peng. Julia, will you just slide over here 1 minute? Julia has been phenomenal. Can you?
Hi, I'm Julia, and I'm one of the associates that's helped on drafting this complaint. And in hearing the stories that we've gotten, these are not people who are just randomly surfing YouTube. These are people who have been targeted because of their interest in cryptocurrency. These are people who have sat and watched these videos for 20, 30 minutes and see that these videos are live, that people are watching, are participating, are liking these videos. They're not easily duped people, as maybe some might think. These are people who have thought about it and invested a serious amount of money And YouTube is taking advantage of so many people around the world
And children.
and children based on their actions, and they need to be held reprehensible for their actions.
And any,
Yeah, the feeling I got very often was that they just didn't care. They just didn't care because Janet and I took so much time to write down descriptions of what's going on, describing it as a crime, not just a First Amendment issue. So.
What's next for you guys?
Janet, do you want to say anything?
No, I just hope it stops because I'm tired of taking them down.
Janet is tired of taking these videos, asking to take these videos down. They're readily identifiable. A simple Google search or a search on YouTube finds them.
Try to software. Have one human once a day looking for what gets posted, or just stop anything from being posted that refers to that until a human has okayed it. There's just so many ways they could have solved it, but I don't think a human ever got any of our, like I said, dozens or hundreds of reports. You can't reach a human. Some places you can't reach a human, and some are getting better, and you actually sometimes can at certain sites.
Have you spoken to these companies that have your image, and what have they responded to you?
Have we spoken to these companies that have my image?
Your image of
Posting?
posting.
Well, YouTube is what we're talking about, and these are copyrighted images. The photographer has assigned copyrights to Janice and myself. They have Apple's logo on it. We filed. This is a copyright violation, and I think they might take that one down, that account down, and then two new accounts open the next day. And this has been going on since May 10th. That's more than 2 months.
At this point, if anyone wants to raise their hand and ask a specific question, I will call on you.
No questions yet?
No, Mike.
Oh, I see.
I see Mike Lidke.
Yeah. Hi, Steve. Mike Lidke with the Associated Press. So listening to you guys, it sounds like part of the object, besides clearing up your good name, is you're hoping that to draw some attention to the need for Congress to change Section 230C, which there has been some noises about doing from the president and lawmakers. Is that
Just
part of the object?
Make it perfectly clear, this conduct by YouTube does not fall within this limited scope of Section 230C. This is affirmative misconduct. This is material contribution to the fraud. That is outside the scope of 230C. It also is a negligent failure to warn users, a knowing failure to warn users. And that is also outside the scope of Section 230C. That said, we believe that the reason that YouTube is so complacent, even though their users are being harmed, is because they are hiding behind Section 230C.
communications decency.
Right. Well, I heard you guys say Congress
230C
needs to act, right? I heard you guys say Congress needs to act.
Section 230C is in regards to First Amendment, and they're just repeating things. Well, if somebody were slandering me and accusing me of being a real jerk, that's covered by Section 230. No, we're talking about real, obvious crimes, and YouTube not being accessible to put them down and stop it. They're the only ones that's in a position that could help stop this. They even know who's doing the posting, so
They're getting in the checks.
they're part of the crime.
Well, they are citing Section 230C. So, and I also heard you say, what do you want Congress to do? I heard you guys talking about Congress needs to act. What do you want?
Joe Couchette, what Congress has to do is they have to make that statute more explicit as to what the YouTubes of the world can do. They're currently hiding behind it. And the Department of Justice has not stood up and said, wait a minute, you're not immune from illegal conduct, or you can't support illegal conduct and get away with it under that act. That's the problem we're faced with. It's the interpretation of that act, because Congress hasn't made it strong enough, because they were lobbied tremendously by Silicon Valley and others when that act was passed to save them, because it's all about dollars and cents. It's all about advertising costs. That's where they're going. This
So
case,
you do want it amended. You want it amended. You're hoping it gets amended.
I want them to make it stronger. I want to give it some teeth. I want the Department of Justice to step up and say, wait a minute, you can't foster frauds upon people like anyone in the country and the world using people like Steve, Bill Gates, and others as the front man, front person, whoever it may be, for why this is a legal scam. This is all about illegality. We're saying that the time has come. Steve and Janet are standing up and saying the time has come that this has to stop. It not only is dealing with adults, it's dealing with children. It's not Bitcoin alone. It's all types of scams that are being sold. Don't get me started on the pandemic we're in right now. You're seeing all kinds of fraudulent vaccines. Don't get me going there, being sold across the board.
If they just put one human in place, they could stop this. But we're also alleging that they are participant to a crime, an obvious crime, not just some blah, 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 putting somebody down or claiming that 5G causes COVID. It's not something like that. It's a real obvious crime. Like I said, Ed McMahon would call it a crime.
Steve, let me follow up. It sounded like you're also saying earlier that this is an example of how you feel like big technology has gone awry. I mean, you said that they
no,
don't care.
A lot of places you can't reach a human when a human could solve it easily. This thing could have been solved if we could have reached a human with all our trying from the start. And I won't use special privilege to go around the system. I want to act like a normal human being. That's how I am in life.
Okay. Thank you.
Just to add, YouTube also touts its artificial intelligence. It touts its human assets, including PhDs to review the materials, and yet this Bitcoin giveaway scam, which repeats itself pretty much verbatim, month after month, scamming people out of money, very easily found by Janet. Constantly,
every day,
is not being taken care of. YouTube has the technology. YouTube has the resources. They're just sticking their heads in the sand because they believe that they are immune.
Would you like to see Congress ask Google CEO about this Monday when he testifies?
Absolutely.
What?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, not only about this, about all kinds. I want to make sure we're clear here. This is not just about BitScam and how they're using Steve up there, his Apple image, and converting it, assisting a fraud. This goes much further than Bitcoin. The only thing we're here on today is Bitcoin, but it's representative of the type of frauds that are now coming across the internet. That's the key. And not only are they participating in assisting frauds against adults, it's our children that are being taken advantage of as well. You bet they should talk to the CEO on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or any day they can get him in front of them.
I got a Monday.
Monday, or when the 27th is. You might also watch Tim Cook is going to be testifying, and Apple, you'll reach a human when you try. So some companies are better than others. YouTube's one of the lowest.
Any other questions?
Anyone else have a question?
I do. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Ann Makovic with KPIX. I just want to be clear on what you're looking for as far as an outcome. Besides, clearing your name, changing policy, are you looking for any reparations or any money from the company on this?
Let me answer that.
Yeah, it's a legal question.
The answer is we are looking for an injunction to stop this conduct, number one. We're looking for, however you want to characterize it legally, an apology to Steve and Janet for what they're doing. Most important, we want them to stop. There are 17 people also listed in the complaint who are plaintiffs who were taken advantage of, who sent in their Bitcoins because of Steve's alleged representations and swindled out of money. Now look, they're all over the world. But the bigger picture is to getting Congress and the Department of Justice to focus on what's going on here. So what we want is an injunction. We're going to ask the court for an injunction of sorts to stop this type of conduct. We're going to seek damages if we will, but we're not really talking about big damages. I don't know, but I'm told it ranges from thousands to millions of dollars that were taken. The bottom line is the conduct has to stop.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Just to add one thing to that, if we were looking primarily to cash in on this could have been brought as a class action. We decided to bring people in from all over the world to represent the kind of damage that's been done. And they do deserve their particular damages. However, this case is not about the damages. It's about making positive change. YouTube should step up and say, we understand there's a problem and we're going to fix it.
Yeah, we're not trying to solve our situation, Janet and my situation. No, I want to just solve it for the world, really, that some of this bad behavior gets corrected.
Very good. Thank you.
This is Nicholas with the SF Examiner. Joe, I just wanted to clarify with you. You said you'd like to ask for an injunction to stop this kind of conduct. So when you say this kind of conduct, would you like to see them stop targeting ads towards these users and ban these channels?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. I want to see him stop using images of Bill Gates, Musk, Steve, all the people that sway, because I go back many years with Steve. This is a man filled with integrity, he and Janet. You mentioned Tim Cook. I think he's the same. Bill Gates. These are people that are giving back, so they're being taken advantage of. Steve and Janet are the first ones to stand up and say, this has to stop. The biggest issue here is shining a light on what goes on every day. They get away with it because they hide behind this Communication Decency Act, which isn't, the word decency is not appropriate there. It's the Communications Hide Behind Act, and that's really what we're dealing with. Somehow, some way, we have to get the Department of Justice, we got to get Congress to act, we got to get this, don't get me started on the White House, we got to get this White House to stand up and say this has to stop, this Department of Justice.
And YouTube may come back and say, oh, we took these sites down when there were complaints by the Wozniaks. They probably had a computer that automatically takes them down and notifies the other people. You've been taken down, you can contest it. No, it's whack-a-mole. Like I said, every day some might get taken down, but the next day more are up. And we've been going through this for over 2 months, and YouTube is just not responsive. I don't even know if any human in YouTube ever saw this, and they might say, oh, we're against this, we'll stop this. Wait a minute, you got to stop it for everyone. You should hire at least one person, if not thousands, to be monitoring what kind of illegal, nonsense like this is going on, and what does belong and what doesn't. And look at what Twitter did instantly.
Instant, that's a very good example.
Right. Additionally, if YouTube is actively taking these down, our plaintiffs and others are telling us there is an inordinate delay between the time they flag the problem and the time that anything is taken down. In the intervening days or weeks, a lot of people are damaged.
There's advertising dollars.
And additionally, if they are getting flagged and if they're getting taken down, how is it that YouTube continues to sell ads, continues to include those same fraudulent scam videos in their featured videos and selling ads to monetize the site? It makes no sense. YouTube may say the left hand does not know what the right hand's doing, but that's no excuse. YouTube knows what's going on and they're not preventing it.
Anybody else?
Thank y'all.
Yeah, I had some. Can you hear me? I had some questions. Stephen Gandel from CBS News.
Yes.
Okay. So what did you, Steve? What did you search today to find, you said you found 4 this morning or 3 this morning? Similar videos?
There were 3 this morning.
3 this morning? So what did you search to find those?
Steve Wozniak Bitcoin. Or
Just Steve Wozniak Bitcoin, and it came up
simple searches. You could come up with, about 10 little phrases. One human
was this-
search for them every day, add YouTube and correct them, or just say nothing gets posted. If it falls under that Google search, nothing gets posted until a human has looked at it and said, oh, this is not a crime.
And it was the same kind of thing, saying, hey, give us Bitcoin and we'll give you double? Or are they more sophisticated and say, we all know there's scams out there, but this one isn't?
Not the same kind, identical.
Identical, okay. And have you gone on other social media platforms? Like, have you checked out Steve Wozniak Bitcoin on Facebook, Steve Wozniak Bitcoin on Instagram? Have you looked?
We've used general search engines, and they report these. We haven't restricted it to YouTube necessarily, but there could be others.
Okay, so you haven't, but you don't necessarily have evidence that this is popping up on other social media places.
Well, we would have evidence. You know why? Everybody who gets taken in by it contacts us to find out where their Bitcoins went that they sent us, sent me personally.
Okay, so you believe this isn't a, do you believe this is an Instagram problem too and a Facebook problem too?
Well, it could be.
I don't think so. It could be because people will pass among themselves. We have had people tell us that someone in a Facebook group notified them about it, and that's how they came to YouTube to see it and take advantage of it. Yes.
The base of this problem appears to be YouTube. It hit Twitter in a big way recently, but Twitter took it down.
Within 24 hours. Within
Right.
24 hours, Twitter took this Bitcoin, well, actually it wasn't a Bitcoin. It was a different scam where they were getting into the personal issues with many, many people. It was a Bitcoin as well.
Yeah.
They took it down within 24 hours. Now, what's the difference between Twitter and YouTube? Twitter was acting responsibly. They knew they couldn't hide behind the Communications Decency Act. They pulled it right down.
And I'm sorry,
And apologized.
and just one more question, I'm sorry. So what's your success rate on getting them to take it down? Is it that they take down everything, and then give me how many days on average it takes for them to take things down? Is it that's 100% get taken down, but many, many more come up? Or have you gotten correspondence back from them that says, no, wait, this isn't a scam, we're leaving it up?
We're just one couple at home. We don't have time to have any info, for those exact info.
That information will come out of trial.
Okay.
Sometimes so we have noticed some go down, generally takes a few days, and we've noticed different ones come up, yes. But I can't tell you how many, what percent, what number. Ask Google. I mean, ask YouTube.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
We want to thank everybody for coming and shedding some light on this very difficult problem. I want to make sure that everybody understands this not only involves Steve and Janet Wozniak. This is going after many people worldwide. It's not only adults. There are similar Bitcoin scams going after children every day of the week. Go up, you'll see what I'm talking about.
When will you go to trial? You said you're going to go to trial?
Oh, it's going to be a while, I'm sure, given the
COVID-19
pandemic that we're in, but we're going to push to get there as quickly as possible because this has to stop.
Are you filing under federal?
No, this is filed in
This
state
is filed
court
in state court.
in San Mateo County.
Any last words on your end, sir?
Last words, just try to be sympathetic and understand that some things just get out of proportion to how much they should be. Some of this hiding behind, we're just a posting board.
Upset that it's happening to you and to others?
I tend not to get upset at anything extremely, but yes, from the start, it's horrible. How can you let something like this happen? You know what? I didn't even say, oh, let's file a lawsuit. I was just talking to an old friend, Joe, about we should get together for dinner sometime. And I mentioned it because I thought he'd find it interesting. And now here we are, but it's 2 months later, more than 2 months later. So I hope that somebody hears and just puts some strength in the fact that certain kinds of activities, you've got to be able to reach somebody who can halt it, because Google's the only one that can really halt it from happening. They can write software to detect pictures and the content. I don't think artificial intelligence is a bunch of BS. It's never going to know, oh, it's a scam because somebody's offering twice as much back as you send in. I'm sorry, they're not as smart as a human. Let's get to a human.
And I just want to offer one last word, and that is to thank Steve and Janet, because they're standing up. This is not about them. It's not about the picture of Steve up there and the abuse that's going on. It's about what's happening on our internet across the board. Steve and Janet are standing up to take them on. That to me is a fabulous virtue, but that represents everything that Steve and Janet stand for.
Thank you all.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Good to talk to you.